this episode of Curiosity Cooks. As we start to transition into the cold winter months, everybody needs a little bit of comfort food when they're at home. And today we are making exactly that. Some chicken noodle soup, fresh, delicious, and amazing. Before we get on though, make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you know when we're posting videos in the future. Let's get into it. So, we've got our ingredients here today. Of course, in order to make chicken noodle soup, there are 3 essential things. Chicken stock for your soup, noodles for your noodles, and some nice pulled rotisserie chicken today. Along with that, we're gonna spice things up with a little bit of red onion for color, some celery and carrots for some flavor in there, and some spinach, thyme, and parsley to spice things up and get a little bit of deliciousness going in our pot. So we've got our pot going with our broth warming up. While our broth's warming up, we're gonna go ahead and chop up our carrots and our celery. So I'm gonna knock off the ends here. We can get rid of those. Really, really good for stocks to use later, but not great for your actual soup. Then we're gonna give a little chop here. Doesn't need to be anything special, just about a ½ inch apart. Chopping the celery up. Your carrots, we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna get rid of all of this. We might use a little bit of it for seasoning. Chop those ends off, and then we're gonna trim them at the bottom here. But the different thing that we wanna do with our carrots is we're gonna chop them in half to get a flat surface first. And then, same thing as the celery. We're just gonna run it right through the blade and chop it through. You wanna make sure you have a consistent cut, but it doesn't matter how big it is. These are gonna soak in your soup and they're gonna get all of that chicken flavor and goodness incorporated into them. But you also don't want them too big because then they won't melt down. So these types of pieces, just take one more chop. Chop them down. You probably want about the size of a thumbnail, something like that. With all of your carrot pieces, we're gonna go ahead and put that in here. And you guys can use any sort of foods that you like. Leeks are very, very good for a soup. Using something like radishes or turnips is also really, really delicious. I think the most important thing is just experimenting and putting in whatever you've got at home and whatever you usually like to put in your soup. My big rule of thumb is always, if it's something that you've had before and you've liked in a restaurant, doesn't hurt to try. I know my favorite soup is Olive Garden's chicken gnocchi soup. Oh my goodness, that is delicious. So I started chopping up these onions here. We're just chopping them into a basic mince. Chop them into slices, turn it around, chop them into slices again, end up putting these little squares. No big anything. I really like to use red onion when I'm making this recipe because it provides a lot of color to the broth and gets a lot of good flavor with the chicken. So once you've got that half of a red onion chopped up, nice and fine, we're gonna go ahead and drop that straight into our little broth bath here. Oh, it shouldn't have touched my eyes. That was a bad idea.
It's like when Dumbledore died. All over again.
Trying not to cry. So we're gonna go ahead and put in our onions into our bath here. Use this little scraper. We're also gonna go ahead and add in our spices now. So we're gonna go 2 tablespoons about of parsley. We're also gonna do 1 tablespoon of thyme. And I'm just using dried thyme today. After we've got that going, we're gonna go ahead and turn our heat to a little bit higher. Gonna put in about 2 cups of water. And then we're gonna cover this up. Did I say 2 cups? I definitely meant 1 cup of water. And then we're gonna cover this up, put it on high, and let that get its flavor going. In the meantime, we're gonna make sure that we've got all of our spinach cleaned up and our vegetables properly cut. And we'll be right back to you when we start adding that stuff. So we've been letting this sit for about 5 minutes. Like I said, we added that cup of water into our soup just so that that concentration of chicken flavoring in the broth can stay, and the water on high heat can be what evaporates and gets out of the soup while the flavors integrate from the parsley, the thyme, and our onions. Now that we've had that going for anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and add in our carrots and our celery. And we're gonna let that sit for about 15 minutes. And then we're gonna add in our spinach, our chicken, and our noodles all together at the end. All right, so we've had our soup sitting for about 30 minutes. About 10 minutes ago-ish, I went ahead and added in our noodles so those could get softened up. And the last thing that we're gonna add is our already cooked rotisserie chicken and a little bit of spinach. So we're doing about 1.5 cups of chicken into our mix, along with about 2 cups of spinach. And this is gonna wilt down, so it ends up turning into like 2/3 of a cup of spinach. So once we have all of that in, we're gonna give it a little mix. All right, so we've had our soup sitting for about 15 minutes with our chicken and spinach, and it is ready to go. Just gonna get a nice ladle here. Thank you, sir. Like I said, I want this to be a nice, hearty, chunky meal. So we're gonna put in all of our noodles and meat and of the broth. And then the last thing we're gonna add on here, just for a little kick of deliciousness, is some Parmesan cheese, if I can find it. Found the Parmesan. So we're gonna grate just a little bit of that right over the top. You can crack a little fresh pepper as well. And that's it. Let's get in for a little taste. Get that Parmesan in, let it melt a little bit. I wanna grab chicken, some noodles, some carrot. Ooh, a little perfect spoonful. Oh, you gotta get some broth. There's a lot of richness, there's a lot of beauty that you get from the onions and the parsley and the chicken over the course of the last 45 minutes has really, really broken down, or the chicken broth has broken down and created such a good flavor. And like I said, guys, this meal is super, super hearty, but super, super delicious, and it's comfort food. So hopefully you guys can try this out at home. As we get colder and colder, this is gonna be the perfect thing to have sitting in your freezer to unfreeze and have a little bit of every now and then. If you guys like what you saw here today and you enjoy the recipe, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you guys can get notifications for the next couple videos that we put out. See you soon.